Some say a true hero is someone who stands in the light from the very beginning, but not Robin. The first time he made an impression, he was in a foreign dungeon, covered in blood, with a life that felt like borrowed time. A nobleman's son, imprisoned for 5 years, a heretic, sentenced to death, a dying friend, entrusting his sister's life to him. If you were Robin, having just crawled out of hell only to return home and find your father murdered and your estate destroyed, would you choose to run and save your own skin, or drag all of Nottingham into the flames? Ironically, the only person he wanted to save at first was a single woman. But in the end, he would have to save everyone on this land who had been ground into the dirt. During the Crusades, Robin was locked away in an eastern dungeon. There was no knightly honor here, no noble dignity, only chains, blades, and death that could strike at any moment. A prisoner was about to have his hand chopped off just for stealing a loaf of bread. Robin's friend Peter tried to argue, but the guards didn't care about the truth. This place was no longer a prison. It was a living hell, designed to grind men down into beasts. Robin endured this for 5 years before he finally saw his chance.
This is English courage.
He killed a guard and escaped with Peter. During their flight, a Moorish prisoner nearby begged for help. Peter warned him, "He's an infidel, leave him," but Robin saved him anyway. Not because they were friends, but because Robin believed that no one deserved to die in a place like that. This Moor was named Azim. He was a man of exceptional skill and deep dignity. Having had his life saved, Azim swore an oath. He would follow Robin until he could return the favor and save Robin's life in return. Robin didn't want this vow. He only wanted to go back to England and to his father. But Azim didn't care about Robin's reluctance. In his eyes, an oath was not a mere formality. It was a matter of life and honor. On their journey, Peter was mortally wounded. Knowing he wouldn't make it back, he handed a ring to Robin, begging him to deliver it to his sister, Marion, and swearing him to protect her. Peter's dying wish was neither revenge nor glory, but simply for his sister to survive. Robin gave his word. This single vow would bring him back to England and sweep him into a much larger storm. He thought he was finally going home, but England was no longer the country he had left behind.
Azim the Great One! I am home! Woo! Woo! Look!
With King Richard away on his crusade, the Sheriff of Nottingham had seized the opportunity to expand his power. The common people were heavily taxed, plundered, and driven to desperation. Anyone who dared to resist was branded a criminal. Worse still, Robin's father had already been targeted. The sheriff's men stormed the Locksley estate, demanding that Lord Locksley join their cause. The old man refused. He believed in the king and in justice.
Join us.
Never.
Join us or die.
God and King Richard!
But in turbulent times, justice is useless. When those in power want you dead, they don't need the truth. They only need an accusation. So, they framed him for devil worship and tried to force a confession. Lord Locksley refused to bow and was hanged. The loyal servant, Duncan, was blinded, left with barely his life to watch over the ruins. Robin knew none of this yet. He made his way back to England, filled with the quiet excitement of returning home after a long absence. Seeing the land, the trees, and breathing the familiar air of his homeland, he felt like a child who had finally come back to life. But he soon discovered that along the road, a young boy was about to be executed by soldiers for hunting the sheriff's deer. Robin stepped in. The soldiers told him the forest belonged to the sheriff. Robin retorted, "No, this is my land. These are my trees, and what's on them belongs to me." At this moment, he was not yet the legendary Robin. He was merely a noble lord who had just returned home. Yet, his arrow had already taken aim at tyranny. He fought off Guy of Gisborne, making an enemy of Nottingham for the first time. Guy, the sheriff's cousin, was publicly humiliated by Robin and could only retreat to report the incident. Upon hearing the name Robin of Locksley, the sheriff immediately realized that someone from the family they had destroyed had returned. Robin finally arrived at his family estate, but before him stood no welcoming father, no warm, inviting hall, only charred ruins and a body hanging high above. It was his father. Robin was on the verge of collapse. He demanded to know why Duncan hadn't taken his father's body down. It was only then that Duncan revealed his sightless eyes. He had been blinded. Duncan told him that Guy of Gisborne was the one who did it, backed by Nottingham and that witch. They claimed Lord Locksley worshipped the devil and had signed a confession in front of the bishop. Robin refused to believe it. It wasn't that he couldn't believe his father was dead. He couldn't believe that a righteous man could be destroyed so easily. Kneeling before his father, he swore an oath in his own blood. He would not rest until his father was avenged. Azim urged him to leave, warning him that Nottingham would hunt him down. But Robin had no home left to return to. War, imprisonment, and the death of his father had completely shattered the proud young noble he once was. All that remained was a man who had to settle a blood debt. Yet, he still remembered Peter's dying wish. He went to Marion's home to deliver Peter's ring. Marion was Peter's sister and a kinswoman of the king. She was no fragile, noble lady. In the king's absence, she had stayed behind to care for the oppressed, but she had no warmth for Robin. In her memories, he was still the spoiled, bullying noble boy from their childhood. She even suspected that Robin had abandoned Peter to save himself. Robin could only tell her that Peter had died a free Englishman, and that his final thoughts were of her. The words pierced Marion's heart. Though grieved, she did not forgive him immediately. Trust in times of chaos is rarer than gold. Soon, Nottingham's soldiers gave chase. Robin, Azim, and Duncan were forced to flee into Sherwood Forest. Legend had it that the forest was haunted by ghosts, a place even soldiers feared to enter. But to Robin, there was something far more terrifying than ghosts: the human sheriff. In the forest, they encountered a band of outlaws, led by a massive man named Little John. They controlled the riverway, demanding a toll and robbing the wealthy. Robin had no money, only a holy medallion. Little John wanted it, but Robin refused, and the two fought on a log over the river. This fight was about more than just brute strength. It was an initiation. Though Robin was knocked into the water, he turned the tables and forced Little John to yield. Little John lost, but he respected Robin. He saw that this noble boy was not just full of empty words. And so, Robin entered the forest, and there he saw the real England. Those hiding here were not born thieves, but people driven to the edge. Millers' sons, farmers, women, and children, all outlawed with bounties on their heads because they couldn't pay their taxes or had crossed the sheriff. They survived by staging ghost scares to frighten away soldiers and by taking what they could. Little John believed this was the best they could hope for. At least in the forest, they were still alive. But Robin saw it differently. He didn't see a crowd that needed to hide. He saw a people who had not yet realized they could fight back. He proposed a counterattack. Will Scarlet was the first to mock him. Will despised Robin, seeing him as just another rich boy who, having lost his own estate, wanted to use poor people as tools for his personal revenge. The accusation carried weight, for in the beginning, Robin's fight truly was about his father. Soon, Nottingham proved that Will's concerns were not unfounded. The sheriff's men began burning down the homes of the poor and stealing their livestock, trying to force them to hand Robin over. Suffering under the retaliation, the forest people angrily confronted Robin. "You wanted to make a name for yourself, and now we are paying the price." In this moment, Robin had to make a choice. He could run. He could declare this was someone else's war. He could remain merely a wanted noble out for revenge, but he didn't. Instead, he stood before them and told them that Nottingham only wanted to divide them. The sheriff would not spare them if they handed Robin over. He would only hang them one by one. If they wanted to go home, they could no longer fight among themselves. He said that while the sheriff called them outlaws, he saw them as free men. And a free man defending his home is more powerful than 10 mercenaries. Those words changed the forest forever. From that day on, Sherwood was no longer just a hiding place. It became a living fortress. Robin taught them archery, showed them how to find the gaps in enemy armor, and trained them to use the forest to their advantage. They raided Nottingham's caravans, reclaiming food, money, and weapons, and distributed the gold to the poor. And so, the name Robin began to spread. The sheriff was furious. Robin wasn't just stealing his money, he was stealing his authority. Worse still, the common people fell in love with this outlaw. The sheriff plundered them, earning their hatred. Robin plundered the sheriff and gave it back, earning their devotion. The more brutal the sheriff became, the louder Robin's name echoed. But Robin soon discovered that the money the sheriff was seizing was no ordinary tax. It was being used to bribe the barons, plotting a coup to seize the throne while King Richard was away. Nottingham didn't just want to rule a shire, he wanted all of England. Robin brought this news to Marion. By now, Marion no longer saw only the arrogant boy of their past. She saw the villagers saved in the forest, saw Robin returning the blood money to the poor, and saw a man who had risen above his own hatred to shoulder a greater responsibility. Gradually, they grew closer. Marion asked him if a prince of thieves could ever truly love. Robin didn't offer empty, poetic words. He simply told her that the future he wanted was humble, a home, a family, and love. Such words were an immense luxury in a time of war, for they both knew the sheriff would never allow anyone a peaceful life. A major turning point in the forest came from Azim. At first, many feared him, calling him a barbarian and questioning his faith. Friar Tuck, in particular, was deeply hostile toward the Moor. But when Little John's wife, Fanny, faced a life-threatening labor, everyone was helpless. Azim stepped forward, using his medical skill to save both mother and child. A man they had branded a heretic had saved their family. Friar Tuck finally bowed his head. He realized that if faith only bred arrogance, it was far removed from God. From that day on, Azim was truly welcomed into the forest community. As Robin's forces grew stronger, Nottingham's retaliation grew more ruthless. Knowing his regular soldiers were no match for Sherwood, the sheriff hired Celtic mercenaries from the north. He also needed an ultimate bargaining chip, Marion. Because she possessed royal blood, marrying her would provide the legal armor Nottingham needed to usurp the throne. Marion realized his plan and sent a messenger to France to alert King Richard. But Nottingham's men quickly raided her home and took her captive. Duncan fought his way to the forest, desperate to warn Robin of her abduction. But tragedy followed. The enemy tracked the blind old man, discovering the Sherwood camp. The Celtic mercenaries swept through the forest like a nightmare. This was not a raid, it was a massacre. The camp burned as women and children scattered in panic. Little John fought desperately to save his wife and child, and Robin tried to hold the line, but the enemy was too well prepared, vastly outnumbering and outmatching them. The forest that had once been their sanctuary suddenly became a slaughterhouse. In this battle, Robin lost. Many were killed, and even more were captured. With the forest camp destroyed, Nottingham had finally found the rebels' weakness. They were not myths. They had children, wives, friends, and people they had to save. Marion was locked away in the castle. Nottingham forced her to agree to marry him, even using the captured children to blackmail her, saying they were too young and ignorant to know how fragile life could be. If Marion consented, they would live. If she refused, they would die. This was the peak of Nottingham's malice. He didn't just want to kill, he wanted to force good people to betray their own hearts. Meanwhile, Will Scarlet was released back into the forest. The moment Little John saw him, he accused him of being a traitor, for no one escaped the sheriff's clutches unless they had been bought. Will did indeed bring word from Nottingham. The captives, including the young boy Wolf, were to be publicly hanged at noon the following day, the day of the sheriff's wedding. Robin looked at Will and asked if he had brought this news just to get close and kill him. Will did not deny his hatred. Instead, he finally revealed a secret kept hidden for half a lifetime. He and Robin were brothers. Years ago, after the death of Robin's mother, Lord Locksley had loved a peasant woman. Will was the son of that union, but the young, headstrong Robin could not accept his father betraying his mother's memory. So Lord Locksley, to appease his son, abandoned Will and his mother. Will's life was ruined from that moment on. That was why he hated Robin. It was not because of class, nor was it out of jealousy. It was because, from the day he was born, he had been cast aside by everything Robin possessed. This truth cut deep into Robin's heart. He finally realized how his childhood selfishness had altered the course of another man's life. He made no excuses. He simply accepted Will as his brother. Will, too, made his choice. He could have traded Robin's head for his freedom and a bounty, but he didn't. He asked Robin if he would finish what he started. Robin answered, "I will." The two brothers finally stood together. At the castle, Nottingham was confronted with his own dark truth. Mortiana revealed that she was his birth mother. Years ago, she had stolen the infant lord of the castle, killed the child, and put her own son in his place. She had raised and supported Nottingham not just for power, but because he was her own flesh and blood. She wanted her grandson to inherit the throne, allowing a bloodline branded as monstrous to rule England. Nottingham had not been seduced by a witch. He was the very product of her conspiracy. The next day, gallows were erected in the castle square, and the wedding preparations were underway. Nottingham believed he had won. In a single day, he would execute Robin's men, marry Marion, and take his first step toward the throne. But Robin was coming. He, along with Azim, Little John, Will Scarlet, Friar Tuck, and Fanny, infiltrated the castle in disguise. Tuck used a beer cart to slip past the guards. Azim prepared the black powder. Little John secured the battlements. Will provided cover with his bow, and Robin hid beneath the gallows, waiting for the moment to strike. In the courtyard, the captives were pushed onto the gallows one by one. Young Wolf was dragged up next. Watching his son about to hang, Little John was on the verge of breaking. Just as the rope began to tighten, Robin revealed himself. An arrow flew, severing the noose. The courtyard erupted into chaos. Robin's men moved to free the prisoners as the soldiers rushed in to crush them. The townspeople had stood by as mere spectators, but Azim stepped forward, his voice thundering over the crowd. He was not an Englishman, yet he was willing to fight for their freedom, to stand with Robin against the tyrant who ground them under his boot. His words ignited the crowd. If a stranger was willing to bleed for them, why should they remain on their knees? The people charged the soldiers, plunging the castle into an all-out riot. Under the cover of the chaos, Robin rushed inside to save Marion. Meanwhile, Nottingham dragged Marion to the chapel, forcing the corrupt bishop to perform the wedding ceremony. Marion fought back, but Nottingham had lost his mind. He didn't want love. He wanted the throne, the bloodline, the final mask to prove he was not a monster. Robin pursued them to the chapel, confronting Nottingham face to face.
I'm the ghost.
Drawing Robin's father's sword, Nottingham coldly told him that since the blade belonged to his father, it was only fitting to use it to send Robin to join him. But Robin did not retreat. He declared that he would never fear his father's sword. This was no empty boast. It was the moment Robin finally rose above the trauma of his father's death. The sword could be stolen by the enemy, but his father's spirit could not. The two engaged in a deadly duel. Nottingham was vicious, erratic, and lethal with every strike. Robin, carrying the weight of all who had died, all who had been hanged, and all whose homes had been burned, channeled their pain into every counterstrike. In the end, Robin slew Nottingham. Elsewhere, Friar Tuck confronted the bishop. This man of God, who had colluded with Nottingham to frame Robin's father and watched silently as innocents were persecuted, was trying to flee with chests of gold and silver. Tuck showed no mercy, sending the corrupt soul straight to hell along with his coveted silver. But the danger was not yet over. Mortiana suddenly appeared, lunging at Robin with a blade. Having just survived an exhausting duel, Robin was unable to react in time. In that split second, Azim struck, killing Mortiana. His vow was finally fulfilled. Once, Robin had saved Azim in a distant prison. Now, Azim had saved Robin in his own castle. Two men from different lands and different faiths had proven that true brotherhood is not born of shared blood, but of the willingness to stand in the way of death for one another. The battle was over. Nottingham was dead, the conspiracy shattered, Marion saved, and the captives set free. Robin could finally claim what he truly desired, to marry Marion. At the wedding, just as Friar Tuck was about to declare them husband and wife, a voice interrupted. The crowd turned to see King Richard, finally returned. In that moment, the destiny of the realm was restored.
I will not allow this wedding to proceed.
My lord.
Unless I'm allowed to give the bride away. You look radiant, cousin.
We are deeply honored, Your Majesty.
It is I who am honored, Lord Loxley. Thanks to you, I still have a throne. Friar, proceed.
Rather than punishing Robin for breaking the law, the king thanked him. For without Robin, Nottingham's rebellion would have succeeded, and the throne would have fallen into darkness. Robin had gone from a nobleman's pampered son to a wanted outlaw, to a forest thief, and finally, to the savior of the kingdom. Yet, the most moving aspect of this story is not that Robin won. It is that he had lost so many times before. He had lost his freedom, his father, his home, and very nearly Marion, and the lives of those who followed him. Yet, every time he was beaten down, he did not merely pick himself up. He reached down to pull others up with him. Thus, Robin is not just the name of a skilled archer. It represents the exact moment a people finally stop being afraid. When the poor dare to look up, when the stranger is accepted, when brothers put aside their hatred, when a woman refuses to trade submission for safety, and when a forest becomes a banner against tyranny. That is when a legend is truly born. If you were Robin, faced with your father's murder, you might have chosen simple revenge. But if you can turn revenge into protection, anger into conviction, and a desperate rabble into free men, then you have done more than just survive. You have become the only fire brave enough to burn in the darkness of others.